name is Gonzalo. How are you?
Uh, Going very good here. It's the afternoon. I think it's what, 5 o'clock where you are?
Yeah, here is 5 o'clock. You are where in Australia?
In LA actually. It's only a couple of hours behind.
It's perfect. So and the weather over there, I think it's amazing. How do you feel the weather and all the sun right now?
Today is quite warm. So I actually have a fan. I got a fan just over there to keep me nice and cool. Because it's pretty warm for how LA gets. I think there's a heat wave coming this weekend. So we were gonna go on a hike, but maybe no hike this weekend for the heat wave.
I could imagine that. I want to start this conversation with that because you are from Australia and you are right now in LA and you are in the middle of a great success in the music business. How do you see yourself right now in this music business and with your art going around the world?
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. Like, I never really see it as like what is success. Like, I don't really like see it as that. I see it as one big sort of like continuous journey. So like when you're always sort of like looking forward to the next thing, we always have like, higher things in mind. So we just keep on doing writing, like keep on doing music, and it's just sort of like one big adventure. So we're like super stoked with how everything's gone, but then just even more excited to be continuing doing music.
Tell me about the beginnings. What makes you make music? What was the main idea or the main purpose of going with some folks and make some songs?
Yeah, like, well, initially I started playing piano when I was like only like 7 years old. And from there it's sort of just like everyone going like, oh yeah, like I'm enjoying this music thing. And then, when Josh and I started recording or performing together in high school, we're like, oh, maybe we should try writing some songs. And so, we initially wrote some pretty bad songs, but then just kept on doing it because it was so much fun. Like coming out of high school, it was just like the most fun thing in the world to like get together and record music and jam covers and stuff. So it was all just like grown out of fun and love for music and just developed from there.
How was the themes and the lyrics of the first songs? What was the main idea of that songs?
Oh, from like before the album?
Yeah, before the album, the first one with your folks and your friends, and when you say maybe it's a good idea to make some songs and to try something new, what was the main idea of the themes of these songs?
The main ideas were like themes of having fun. We were like going out with your friends and doing things and stuff like that. And also a lot of the lyrics didn't make too much sense back then as well. There's some lyrics that be like, oh, what were we thinking back then?
In what moment do you realize that you will gain some kind of success or recognition?
I think sort of like one of those moments is, well, definitely when one cool one was when we were on tour over in Europe and we actually heard our song being played on the radio whilst we were in the car. So that was really cool to be like, oh my gosh, like this is something that actually happens, because it's all well and good. Like you see like, oh, you get told that your song's being played on radio in like Germany or France, but then to be there and actually like hear it yourself just while you're driving from show to show is really cool.
Well, you are from a generation that the radio doesn't matter so much. You're more of a generation of TikTok and Spotify on streaming music. How do you feel about being successful or to have recognition in the analog era and also in the digital era?
Yeah, I'm definitely like in that unique place where it's like I grew up where radio was like the be all and end all. Like I remember listening to radio shows all the time when I was young, and that was like the top thing. Like if a song got played on radio, you're like, oh my God, they must be so famous, because radio was just like everything. And so going from that, when streaming wasn't even a thing. And I remember basically when we started the band was when Spotify just like came out. And so at that time I was like, oh, do we release on Spotify? I don't know. How does that really work? Oh, we're not going to get paid any money for someone listening to our songs. Oh, that's weird. So like streaming, like the thought of like someone not buying it on Apple Music was really weird. So that was a really strange time. Like now you don't even think about it. Like you put your song on Spotify and you stream it and you don't even think that like 8 years ago, it was like you always paid $1.99 or whatever it was, 99 cents for a song to buy on Apple Music. So it's definitely been a shift, but one where you just sort of start to see, if you're doing great on streaming and things are happening there, like that's an awesome feeling just as much as, being played on radio. Like people are hearing the songs So as long as people are hearing it and enjoying it, like that's the aim.
So you began to be recognized in all Australia and all over the world. In which moment do you transform your songs to something different, or are the main idea of the beginning right now also being like in the same path?
I think the themes of the songs, they develop on like over time as we develop like ourselves as musicians. Like I definitely developed my own songwriting in between the first and second album. Like we spent so much time writing, and I learned so much more like about myself and where I sort of stand as a writer. And then that is something that's taken like me and like the themes of my writing from the beginning to now, is sort of doing it over and over again and sort of finding out where I lie and what I want to write about. And so that sort of comes just with time and experience.
How do you experience the fame or the recognition, not only personally, but for your art? When you are listening to one of your songs on the radio or in on a mall, something like that, and you say, many people are experiencing the same idea that I propose in this song.
Yeah, that's definitely something cool. Like something I think about when I write is that, like, you know, like I'm just like a completely like normal person, nothing out of the ordinary really. So that if I write about something that I'm feeling, there's a very high chance that a lot of people are feeling the same thing. And so that's when you put something out that's personal to yourself, like in your music, there's a very high chance that someone else, like a lot of people out there, are feeling the same thing. So that's why it's just important to be honest with what you're writing. Because if you're honest and it speaks to you, then it's going to speak to other people.
Have any time do you feel some kind of insecurity of sharing your emotions and your feelings in the songs, and that many people could know something that you don't want to show to the people?
Yeah, like I think, like, imagine like you're writing something very personable and someone listens to it like, oh, I don't like this. And so that's like an initial like scary feeling of like you putting something out that's personal, and then someone that you don't even know, someone is just listening to it and then judging that. And like everyone judges everything. So like however many streams you get it down Spotify, that's that many people judging the music. Hopefully a lot of people like it, but like people judge things, whether you like it or not. And so that's definitely something you have to get past in like the early days of, so just like not care about it, because if you enjoy it, then like that's all that matters.
You don't care about the scrutiny, because if you care about it, you get paralyzed and you can go on making music and sharing with your fans.
Yeah, it's like I think I'm my own biggest critic. So it's like if I know that I can critique myself to no end. So if I'll do something, I can tell myself that it's bad and I'll change it. So as long as you like have confidence within your own like critiquing, then it doesn't really matter as much what everyone else thinks.
How is getting along with your band members and also your friends? It is easy right now, or is harder between? Are you growing in the artistic way?
It's interesting because like being in a band with 4 people is tough. Like because it's not just one person with the same goal. You have 4 very different people with each have like the goal of like making the band as successful as it can be. But then it does sometimes come some times where it's like my idea of what would help this band grow in like the best way would be different to someone else's. And so that's when communication is just important, to be like, well, we both know we're trying to go for the same thing here. Like we both just want this to work. And so you just got to talk it out, and then you end up finding something that works for everyone.
Well, it's a work, but it's a different work, because if you're an accountant or a lawyer, well, you have like a rule to go. But if you are a musician, you're an artist, you have to decide which road you will gonna go to the evolution of your music and your talent.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no set path. There's no right or wrong way to do any of this. And I think we're all just sort of figuring out as it goes. Like I've spoken to, musicians and producers that I see on like this huge level. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're so amazing. And they're just like, well, we don't really know what we're doing. Like our instincts are just getting better. Like I was like, oh wow, that's so true. Like I still don't really know what I'm doing. There's no code for any of it. Like you just develop instincts of what feels good and what doesn't, and then you just keep developing on that and developing on yourself, and you get better.
How much of your art is based on your instinct, in your gut, and how much is based in, I don't know, the Spotify statistics or something like that?
I think it depends on what you're writing for. Like if I'm writing a song for sync or something, if I'm like writing a song that's like, this company is like, oh, like they're wanting a song that sounds like Imagine Dragons or whatever, then like I wake up that morning, I'm not feeling, oh my gosh, I wake up this morning, I feel so inspired to write a song like Imagine Dragons. It's like, no, I'm doing this, I'm trying to achieve a goal. And so that is less like from the heart, because you know you're sort of trying to achieve like a set goal based on what somebody else wants. But then there's other ones where you have an emotion and that you want to get that emotion out. It has nothing to do with what anyone else wants, and then that comes from a place of like, you know, much more feeling than using your sort of musical knowledge to, you know, pursue a goal.
So what was your nature or your gut in this morning to do music? You were thinking about a song like Imagine Dragons or something different?
This morning I was actually doing stuff for people's weddings. So it's a little bit of both, because when I do like piano recordings for people's weddings, and so that they asked me to do certain things like certain songs, and then I put the emotion into the performance. So it's like a little bit of both. But then also I've been working on some things for like other artists, which are more like pop beats, like hip hop, dance, things like that. And that's when it's just all about having fun. Like we just go into the studio, and for dance tracks, which is very different to what the Faim does, but the whole objective of the dance track is for people to listen to it and have fun. So in the studio, you're going to be having the time of your life. Otherwise, that's not going to translate across. So we just get in there and just have a bunch of fun, and, you know, really stoked with what comes out.
You are on LA right now, so I think you are on track to the next steps of this 2022 tour and something like that. How is the year going on for you and your friends?
Yeah, like the year is just exciting. Like we just came off a almost 4 month long tour, so it was like huge. And so that touring, you know, has been a big part of like what the Faim's about. But then after that, it's always good to sort of like recenter and then work on music in other ways. Because when you're on tour, there's only really one form of music that you can do in this performance. And then because we tour in like a van, and so it's like not much sleep, you don't get to write or sort of like scratch all the other musical itches that you have. Like you want to do this or you want to do this. When we're off tour, we have time to be able to explore and sort of develop ourselves, you know, as musicians, which we don't get to do on tour. So that's something that I find really exciting, is that you sort of like get the best of both worlds.
And the people are recognizing your new record and your music, and also how is the live act? How is preparing a live act different, making it in LA or the USA than in Australia?
Well, funny story. We actually prepare our live act. We prepared our last one for the tour in the UK, because the guys were in Australia and I was in LA, and the tour started. Well, we all got together in the UK to rehearse there for 2 weeks and then drive to Germany to start. And so what we were just in a rehearsal room for just like under 2 weeks, and because we're rehearsing like almost a whole album that no one's ever heard yet, and we'd never even played together, because it was all written while we were apart. Well, a lot of it was. And so we sort of get in there and then figure out like what's sort of like you know, translating to the live performance well, and then choosing the songs that we're going to play live, and then sort of just like tweaking the arrangements, like turning them up a notch to give that real like energetic feeling for the live performance.
So that's a real life of a rock star, not sex and drugs and rock and roll, but really being in different parts of the world, preparing the tour, preparing the live act, preparing all the stuff to going on tour and be working again and again and again.
Oh, you have no idea. Like even like when the tour starts, the work isn't done. Like like our guitarist Sam was like rejigging stuff with like our backing tracks until like halfway through the tour. Like things go wrong all the time, and like no one has any idea how many times things go wrong, and we are fixing them behind the scenes. So it's like we play the show, then like the next day, like in the van, like Stan will be fixing something that happened in the live show, like with all the tech, and our guitar tech Mitch will be fixing things that went wrong. It's like, it's one massive operation that you don't want people to see, because you want people just to enjoy the show. It's our job to make sure that that can happen well over and over again.
What is happening when you finish your a show? It's a cathartic moment, or you are thinking for the next live act and the next show and again and again and again?
Well, directly after I finish performance, I go to the merch desk. So that keeps on going. I'll go straight from the show. I'll be like all sweaty and gross and everything, and then hit the merch desk and sell some clothes. But that's always fun because I like chatting to people, and then they get to talk about the show and how they felt and everything. And then afterwards, now I'm so tired. I like go straight to sleep. I might watch an anime or something on my phone to like wind down. So like, which is something I like to do after a show, just like completely wind down. Probably won't think about the next show till the next day, because you've got to relax a little bit. Take the time when you can to sort of just chill out.
Well, you are reliving the moment, and I'm glad to be a witness of your success, and you're willing to do more art and to be again with your people and with your fans. So, Steven, it was a pleasure to have you here today, and I wish to see you on a live act soon.
Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.